As you see, a nice layer of snow and ice is covering New York City this January. And I got to admit, the last few days were really harsh and cold in the city. Even for myself, I caught the flu, as you might hear, hence the delay in me posting the video, as for about 2 days, I was unable to speak at all. I sounded like the Godfather. So let us cover a little bit about what are some things I actually don't like about the city. Now, of course, this is not a full list, just 5 of my random thoughts I would like to share and kind of experiment with different types of videos on this channel. I actually also began getting some emails asking about my views on teaching, or would I recommend going into the field of history. So at some point this year, I will do videos addressing these issues and sharing some of my personal stories and perspectives on these. Of course, while still hopefully visiting exciting new places and sharing them with you. So like I said, this city to me is amazing. Not just the various places to visit and explore, but the people you come across, the food to eat, like pizza. I mean, of course, that is a given. Or my favorite chicken over rice place. Tell me this does not look good. However, behind the beauty, there is also much headache and drama and things that are very annoying. For instance, the first on my list, traffic. No matter where you will go, I can guarantee you will be stuck in traffic. Before COVID, so like 5 years ago or more, I was pretty good with navigating through traffic. I knew exactly at what times to go and what highways to avoid and when. However, in the last 4 or 5 years, it is almost impossible to sometimes predict traffic patterns. I don't know, maybe it's because many people now have jobs that work from home, from their computers. So these typical 8 to 4, 9 to 5 schedules are no longer so easily predictable. Then the surprise roadwork, construction, cleanups, mixed with occasional accidents, and you are not going very fast anywhere in New York City. Now, sometimes traffic is unavoidable due to the amount of people that live here. I mean, there are over 8 million people living in the city, not counting those that commute to work from other states. Therefore, that will always create some sort of traffic. Fine. Mentally, I am prepared for that. But what I am not prepared for is that many times the traffic is created by people themselves in the most ridiculous ways. At this point, I am convinced that I can put a traffic cone next to a highway and that in itself will create traffic. As for some reason, some will slow down to admire it. And if not that, then count the amount of clouds in the sky that day. I don't know what they are doing or thinking about, but whatever it is, they are causing serious backups. For instance, some don't realize that if the road is empty, the left lane is a passing lane, and you should not be going in at 20 miles per hour. Not only are you slowing down the whole flow, but you are also creating hazardous conditions. To some, that is a new revelation. So talking about cars and traffic, few other things that are relatable to this, like bad roads, which take a toll on your car, leading to expensive and unavoidable car repairs. A hole in the road? No problem. Put a cone over it. It will get done in the next 2 to 3 months if we are lucky. Or the fact that in many places, major roads lack clear lanes, like you see here if you drive on the BQE, which is one of the major highways that runs through Brooklyn, at night, or if it begins to rain, or both, like you see here, it becomes almost impossible to see the lanes. And not only does this create traffic, but it is also very hazardous. Now, this is an annoyance. However, the truth is many cities have the same problem. It is certainly not unique to this city. The high flow of traffic, heavy trucks delivering goods, and honestly just the simple geography of the city. Like temperatures change between freezing and warming up fairly quickly, sometimes damaging the roads, or the fact that some roads are built over former swamps and marshes. Not to mention all the salt that is sprayed on the streets in the winter all contribute to these issues. And so I am sure that there is some inefficiency and waste on the part of the city in dealing with these problems, but to completely eliminate them, I don't think that would be possible due to these factors. The third item on my list is, well, it's expensive to live here. Now, I think New York City was always an expensive place to live, and people always complained about the price of goods and services. But honestly, in the recent years, like right after COVID, so the last 5 years or so, the price of everything is becoming a huge burden on many families. And I am not just talking about buying groceries, which in itself kind of sucks. I mean, even I see this in my own shopping, that I almost pay double what I was paying 5 years ago when I go shopping for food and basic household needs. But to add to this, you also have housing. The price of homes and apartments, rent is very, very high. In Queens, for example, where I live, we are talking about 850,000, 900, even $1 million for a small one-family house which needs renovation. So the amount of money you need to make to buy that is pretty high. So if you cannot afford these prices, which many people can't, apartment prices are also very high. And if you are renting, a lot of your income goes towards rent. So paying for housing and basic needs like food, for a lot of people, there goes most of your paycheck. But on top of that, everything else is going up. Property taxes are going up. Insurance for cars and buildings is going up. More regulations, even utilities are going up, like electricity and gas. So look, New York City is, again, an amazing place. And if you really want to and are willing to work hard, there are a lot of opportunities and many paths forward. But I feel certain things are slowly getting out of control, which could have serious consequences in the next few years. For example, it's becoming very difficult to raise a family in the city. To have 2 or 3 kids and pay for everything is a challenge to many. And I'm actually beginning to see the frustration with many of my students, where they are slowly having the attitude of, what's the point of college? Why do this? It's kind of a defeated attitude, which I am noticing a little bit more. Now, when it comes to students in college, I believe there are a few issues at play, and it's a topic that goes deeper. But certainly the affordability of life plays a role as well. That is why it is frustrating for many, honestly including myself, to see the addition of things like this, congestion pricing. That has recently been introduced, of charging $9 for cars to enter Manhattan below 60th Street, as it ultimately adds another layer of spending for many who already see the cost of living in the city go up with everything else. Maybe I should do a video on congestion pricing. That seems to be a hot topic these days. But personally, I am not convinced by it. There are many things that just don't add up for me. In fact, to congestion pricing, I can also add speed cameras, which are multiplying throughout the city, or the creation of bicycle lanes. Now, I am not against bicycle lanes. In fact, I think it's fantastic that these lanes are finally being integrated into the fabric of the city. But the way that it is being done in some places, to me, is just very messy. And the same goes with speed cameras. If they are truly put up for safety, then many of their placements are just weird and off the mark. Okay, so what else tickles my Adam's apple about the city? Well, number 4, trash. The problem is that some people don't care and throw trash on the street. Hey, with over 8 million people living here, you will always find someone in that category, unfortunately. But trash finds itself on the streets in many other ways. For example, when the garbage trucks collect it, sometimes things just fall out by accident even. Animals play a big role as well. Squirrels, birds, and the occasional rats digging through garbage cans and pulling out all the trash onto the street. And if you live in a neighborhood along the water, seagulls. need to be added to the line of suspects. Or sometimes when garbage is being put on the sidewalks for collection, if there are high winds, the garbage cans fall over, spilling lots of trash onto the street, which is sometimes not fully collected. So there are a number of factors at play here. Some due to people themselves, some not so much. But regardless, you see it on the streets. However, as you are walking down the street, make sure that not only do you look at your feet so you don't step into any trash, but also look up, because sometimes there's a whole street of pigeons lined up, ready to poop on your head. And finally, the last thing I want to mention, graffiti. Look, I understand that some see it as a form of expression, a sign of rebellion, or even art in terms of like the use of calligraphy. But in my view, it makes the neighborhoods less attractive and enjoyable to walk through. Taking aside the fact that this is vandalism. And I pointed this out a few times on this channel. For instance, when I walked across the Manhattan Bridge, such a beautiful and iconic bridge, and yet the plaque with the information about the bridge and those who envisioned it is all covered up, basically unreadable. Or the Kosciuszko Bridge, already covered up in graffiti. For crying out loud, this is only a project which was completed, like 6 years ago. Or even the Hell Gates Bridge, when I did a video on that, and the list goes on and on. But aside from that, let's look at the human side to this. If you have something, let's say you bought a car, or a phone, or a computer, and you spend a lot of money to get it, and then someone else will walk by and just damage it, or write all over it, how would you feel about it? I guess the golden rule in religions and philosophies, not just those of the West, like Christianity, but also those of the East, like Confucianism, is simple. Do not do to others what you wouldn't want to be done to you, right? But that does not mean that all graffiti is bad, or that I am really against it. Walking through the city, you see some really beautiful ones that are very truly artistic and actually add to the uniqueness of the neighborhood. But again, as long as the property owner gives permission. So here were just few things from the top of my head, but look, which city doesn't have problems? Which family doesn't have drama, right? This is really what makes life interesting, even though it might be sometimes annoying and frustrating. So I do apologize about my voice. Hopefully next week I'll be back to normal, and thank you so much for watching. I will see you soon.